I was 27, staring at a cracked phone screen, my eyes burning from another 12-hour scroll through endless feeds, memes, cat videos, and influencers selling dreams I couldn't afford. My apartment was a mess, dishes piled high, and my bank account was screaming for mercy with $237 left to my name. I hadn't slept properly in weeks, my mind trapped in a fog of self-doubt and regret. This wasn't the life I'd imagined. I was supposed to be somebody, a go-getter, a success story. Instead, I was drowning in my own mediocrity, feeling like the world was moving on without me. And then, one rainy Tuesday night, I stumbled across a tattered copy of Think and Grow Rich at a thrift store. It cost me $1.50, the best $1.50 I'd ever spent. That book didn't just change my habits, it rewired my brain. This is the story of how I went from a broke, aimless nobody to someone who wakes up every day with purpose, all because of a mindset shift I never saw coming. Let me take you back to the darkest days. I was working a dead-end retail job, folding clothes for people who barely looked at me. My co-workers were great, but I felt like an imposter, like I was meant for more but couldn't figure out what more was. Every night I'd collapse onto my couch, open my phone and lose myself in TikTok or Instagram. I'd watch people my age, 18 to 35, living lives I envied. Traveling, starting businesses, looking confident and free. Meanwhile, I was stuck, comparing myself to strangers online, feeling smaller with every swipe. My mental health was crumbling. I'd lie awake at 3 a.m., my heart racing, wondering if I'd ever amount to anything. The worst part, I knew I was wasting my potential, but I didn't know how to stop. One night, I hit rock bottom. I'd just gotten a text from my landlord, a polite but firm reminder that rent was overdue, again. I checked my bank account, saw the pathetic balance, and felt a wave of panic so intense I could barely breathe. I remember sitting on the floor of my tiny apartment, surrounded by empty takeout containers, thinking, this can't be it, this can't be my life. I was 27, but I felt like I was running out of time. That's when I decided to walk to the thrift store down the street, desperate for a distraction. I wasn't looking for self-help books. I thought they were for suckers. But there it was, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, sitting on a dusty shelf like it was waiting for me. The cover was worn, the pages yellowed, but something about it called to me. I bought it, went home, and started reading. The first chapter hit me like a freight train. Hill didn't sugarcoat anything. He talked about desire, about burning bridges to your old life to force yourself forward. I realized I'd been coasting, letting fear and laziness dictate my choices. I wasn't just wasting time on my phone, I was wasting my life. I stayed up all night reading, underlining passages, scribbling notes in the margins. For the first time in years, I felt a spark of hope. But hope alone wasn't enough. I needed to act. Over the next few weeks, I devoured that book, rereading it, internalizing its lessons. It wasn't about getting rich quick. It was about changing how I thought about myself, my goals, and my future. Here's the thing. I didn't have a grand plan. I wasn't trying to become a millionaire overnight. But I started small, applying Hill's principles to my life. I began visualizing what I wanted, not just money, but freedom, confidence, and a sense of purpose. I'd close my eyes and picture myself running a side hustle, paying off my debts, traveling to places I'd only seen on my phone. At first, it felt silly, like I was playing pretend, but something shifted. I started believing I could be more than a retail worker with a dwindling bank account. I started believing I was worth betting on. That belief led to action. I cut my screen time from 12 hours a day to 6, then 4, then 2. I used apps to block social media during work hours, forcing myself to focus. I started journaling every morning, writing down my goals like Hill suggested. Specific, measurable ones, like save $500 by next month, or read one new book a week. I wasn't perfect. Some days I'd slip back into old habits, scrolling mindlessly or doubting myself. But I kept going, driven by this new mindset that I could control my destiny. By the end of that first month, I'd saved $300. Not a fortune, but more than I'd saved in years. I felt alive, like I was finally steering my own ship. This wasn't just about money. It was about reclaiming my life from the black hole of self-doubt and distraction. Think and Grow Rich didn't give me a magic formula. It gave me a framework to rebuild myself. I was still the same person, but I was starting to see the world differently. I was starting to see myself differently. And that, my friends, was the real game changer. The spark from that tattered book didn't just flicker, it ignited a fire I didn't know I had. But let's be real. Changing your mindset isn't like flipping a switch. It's messy, it's hard, and it's a fight against every bad habit you've ever leaned into. I'd spent years numbing myself with endless scrolling, hiding from my fears behind a phone screen. Think and Grow Rich didn't just wake me up, it handed me a roadmap to crawl out of that pit. I'm not here to preach some fairy tale transformation. My life didn't turn into a Hollywood montage overnight. But I found solutions, real ones, that pulled me from rock bottom to a place where I could breathe again. Let me walk you through the steps that changed everything, not just for me, but for anyone who's ready to stop dreaming and start doing. First, I had to face the ugly truth. My mind was my biggest enemy. Napoleon Hill talks about definiteness of purpose, and I realized I had none. I was drifting, letting life happen to me. So step one was getting crystal clear on what I wanted. I grabbed a cheap notebook and wrote down one goal: be debt-free and financially independent by 30. It sounded insane at the time: $12,000 in credit card debt, a low-paying job, and no savings. But I followed Hill's advice and visualized it every day. I'd sit in my cramped apartment, close my eyes, and picture a bank account with a positive balance. No late-night panic attacks about bills. I imagined the weight lifting off my chest. This wasn't just daydreaming, it was training my brain to believe it was possible. Every morning, I'd write that goal down again, adding details. Pay off $500 this month, save $200 for emergencies. Specificity was my anchor. Step two was killing distractions. My phone was a black hole, sucking away 12 hours a day. I downloaded an app called Freedom to block social media during work hours and set a strict rule: no phone after 9 p.m. At first, it felt like withdrawal. My hands itched to check Instagram. But I replaced scrolling with reading. I started with Think and Grow Rich, then moved to other books like Atomic Habits and The Millionaire Next Door. I read 15 books that first year, each one rewiring how I thought about money, time, and myself. I also set up a distraction-free zone in my apartment, just a corner with a chair, a lamp, and my notebook. No phone, no TV. That space became my sanctuary for planning and thinking. Step three was taking action, even when I felt like a fraud. Hill's book emphasizes organized planning, so I broke my big goal into tiny, doable steps. I started budgeting ruthlessly, using a free app to track every dollar. I cut out takeout, canceled subscriptions I didn't need, and put $100 a month toward my debt. It wasn't glamorous. I ate instant noodles for weeks. But it worked. Within 6 months, I'd paid off $3,000. I also started a side hustle, freelancing as a content writer. I found my first gig on Upwork, charging $20 for a 500-word blog post. It wasn't much, but it was proof I could earn money outside my retail job. That first $200 check felt like $1,000,000. Step 4 was surrounding myself with the right people. Hill talks about the mastermind group, and I realized my social circle was holding me back. My old friends were great for late-night beers, but they weren't pushing me to grow. I started connecting with people online, Reddit communities, LinkedIn groups, even local meetups for entrepreneurs. I met a guy named Mike, a freelancer who'd read Think and Grow Rich too. We'd meet for coffee and talk about our goals, holding each other accountable. He introduced me to clients, and soon I was earning $1,000 a month on the side. Those connections weren't just about money. They gave me hope and momentum. The benefits, they were life-changing. By the end of year one, I'd paid off $7,000 of my debt, saved $2,500 in an emergency fund, and was working half the hours on my phone. I wasn't rich, but I was free, free from the constant anxiety of being broke, free from the mental fog of endless scrolling. I started sleeping better, my apartment was cleaner, and I even took a weekend trip to the coast, my first vacation in years. My confidence grew. I wasn't just surviving, I was building something. My side hustle grew to $3,000 a month, enough to quit retail and go full-time freelance. I wasn't a millionaire, but I was living proof that Hill's principles worked. The mindset shift wasn't about chasing money, it was about chasing control over my life. But here's the kicker. None of this was easy. I failed plenty. There were weeks I overspent, nights I binged YouTube instead of working, moments I doubted I'd ever make it. What kept me going was the vision I'd built in my head and the small wins that proved I was on the right path. If I could do it, broke, depressed, and lost, then anyone can. The solutions aren't magic, they're just practical steps fueled by a mindset that refuses to settle. Here I am, 2 years after picking up that beat-up copy of Think and Grow Rich, standing in a place I never thought I'd reach. I'm not typing this from a penthouse, and I'm not sipping coffee in Paris yet. But I'm debt-free. My freelance business is pulling in $5,000 a month. And I wake up every day knowing I'm not just drifting through life anymore. That shift in mindset, the one that started with a $1.50 book, didn't just change my bank account. It changed how I see myself and what I believe is possible. But this isn't about me anymore. It's about you. You're watching this because you feel stuck, like I did, scrolling through life, wondering if this is all there is. I'm here to tell you it's not. You can rewrite your story, just like I did. And I'm begging you, don't wait for rock bottom to start. Take the first step today, right now, because the life you want is closer than you think. Let's talk about you for a second. Maybe you're 22, fresh out of college, feeling like you're already behind. Or you're 30, stuck in a job that drains you, scrolling through TikTok at 2 a.m., wondering where your 20s went. Maybe you're 35, balancing bills and dreams you've shelved for too long. I see you because I was you. That feeling of being trapped, of watching others live the life you want, it's suffocating. But here's the truth. You don't need a fancy degree, a trust fund, or a viral moment to change your life. You need a decision, a single, unshakable choice to stop waiting for someday and start building your future today. That's what Think and Grow Rich taught me. Not how to get rich, but how to get free. So what's your next move? I'm not asking you to quit your job or sell your car. Start small, but start now. Grab a notebook, any notebook, and write down one goal. Not a vague wish like, I want to be happy, but something real, like save $1,000 in 6 months, or start a side hustle by next week. Write it down every day, like a promise to yourself. Then take one action. Download an app to cut your screen time, read the first chapter of a book that challenges you, or message someone who's doing what you want to do. Small steps stack up. I started with $100 a month toward my debt. Now I'm debt-free and traveling to places I once only saw on my phone. You can do this too. And don't do it alone. Find your people, online, at a local meetup, anywhere. Surround yourself with those who lift you up, who make you want to be better. I found Mike, my freelance buddy, and he changed my trajectory. You don't need a dozen friends. One person who gets it is enough. Share your goals with them, hold each other accountable, and watch how fast you move. And when you slip up, because you will, don't quit. I had days where I blew my budget or wasted hours online, but I kept going because every step forward counts, no matter how small. Here's my challenge to you. Don't let this video be just another 15 minutes you scroll past. Hit pause, grab your phone, and set a timer for 5 minutes. In those 5 minutes, write down one thing you want to change about your life and one step you'll take today to make it happen. Maybe it's cutting your screen time to 2 hours a day. Maybe it's signing up for a freelancing platform. Maybe it's just reading the first page of Think and Grow Rich. Whatever it is, do it now. Because the only difference between you and the person you want to be is action. If this story hit home, if you're ready to make that shift, hit the subscribe button. Join this community of people who are done settling and ready to build something real. I'm dropping videos every week with practical steps, real stories, and the kind of motivation that doesn't let you stay stuck. And I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's the one thing holding you back right now? How many hours are you spending on your phone each day? Let's start this conversation because your story matters and I'm here to help you write the next chapter. You're not stuck. You're just one decision away from a mindset shift that could change everything. So, what are you waiting for? Go make it happen.